Welcome back to the Malaysia Money Matters show. It's the 8th of July, 2025.
Good to be here.
Today we're unpacking the key financial and economic news that affects you. We'll look at everything from Malaysian companies to global politics and trade.
Yeah, navigating the headlines and figuring out the real impact.
Exactly. Okay, let's get straight into it. First up, the telco sector. Some interesting predictions here.
Kenanga Investment Bank sees potential for special dividends, thinking Time.com and Maxis for FY 2025.
Right, mainly because they're keeping spending, capital expenditure pretty subdued.
Yeah, holding back a bit. But then you have U-Mobile making a big move.
Oh yeah, what's that?
They've started rolling out Malaysia's second 5G network, aiming for 80% population coverage by late 2026.
80%, that sounds, well, very ambitious. What are the implications, especially cost-wise?
It's definitely a high-stakes play, good for consumers, more 5G access for you potentially sooner, but U-Mobile could face some serious losses in the short term.
Because of the huge spending needed.
Exactly. Massive capital expenditure, it's a trade-off,
Yeah.
Aggressively chasing market share, it could trigger a kind of costly 5G arms race among the telcos.
Squeezing everyone's profits for a while.
Could do, yeah. Might consolidate the market eventually, but could be tough for a few years.
Okay, let's shift from telcos to manufacturing and tech. EG Industries is expanding in Penang.
That's right, teaming up with China's Cambridge Industries Group, adding high-speed lines, clean rooms, all for next-gen 5G tech.
So boosting capacity and making regional supply chains stronger.
Absolutely. And speaking of tech, the broader digital economy in Malaysia saw a huge jump in foreign investment in Q2.
Oh, huge.
An exceptional 125% surge. That's RM 29.47 billion in foreign direct investment, mostly into data centers.
Wow, that's a massive vote of confidence. But isn't there a potential snag?
There is. A new draft U.S. rule might restrict AI chip exports to Malaysia and Thailand specifically.
And that caused ripples.
Oh, yeah. A bit of a knee-jerk reaction in Malaysian tech stocks, and even construction firms building those data centers felt it. Though some analysts are saying U.S. firms might get exemptions.
So uncertainty there. It forces Malaysia into a strategic corner, doesn't it? Choose between U.S. tech links or building more self-sufficiency.
Precisely. A critical point for the domestic tech supply chain, insulating against these kinds of geopolitical shocks.
Okay, let's bring it closer to home. Consumer goods and travel. Heineken Malaysia's raising prices again.
Yep. Starting August 1st, 2% to 8% increase across their products.
And the forecast, will people just pay up?
Well, Maybank Investment Bank thinks sales volume might drop about 5% this year because of it. But it's really a move to protect, or rather defend, their group margins, even if fewer units are sold.
Right, margin over volume sometimes. Now, aviation seems to be flying high. AirAsia signed a huge deal.
Huge is right. US $12.25 billion for 50 extra long-range Airbus A321 XLR jets.
XLRs. Those are the ones who can fly much further, right?
Yep.
Narrow-body planes doing long haul.
Exactly. Think low-cost flights to the US, to Europe, potentially at half the current market price. It basically opens up totally new markets for budget travelers, a real game changer.
That's massive. And Malaysia Airlines isn't standing still either.
Nope. Malaysia Aviation Group, their parent company, is doubling its A330neo wide-body fleet, ordering 20 more directly from Airbus, taking the total to 40.
So they're focusing on enhancing premium travel, connectivity across Asia-Pacific.
That's the plan. More options for you, really, whether you want budget long haul or more comfort on regional and Asia-Pacific route.
Good to see expansion there. What about other key services and infrastructure?
Well, NextG got contract extensions from the Home Ministry, passport and ID card related stuff, so continued positive earnings contribution there. OSK Holdings is moving into motorcycle financing, a RM 16.5 million a duration.
Interesting diversification. And Proton, how are they doing?
Pretty well, actually. They increased their market share in June, estimated at 20.7%. That's notable because the overall industry volume actually dipped.
So Proton outperformed the market. What drove that?
Strong sales of models like the X50, apparently, plus significant growth in exports and, interestingly, their electric vehicles, too.
Good signs. And what about the bigger economic picture for Malaysia?
Largely positive on the indicators front. International reserves hit a new decade high at the end of June. U.S. $120.6 billion.
That sounds healthy. How much import cover is that?
Enough to finance 4.8 months of imports. So, yeah, robust financial health.
And investor confidence.
Seems to be growing. Foreign investors were net buyers on Bursa Malaysia for the second week straight. RM 303 million inflow, particularly into utilities and industrial products.
Okay. And regionally, that Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone is moving ahead.
Expected to really spur growth. They're talking about new satellite towns popping up across all 10 districts in Johor. Big boost for the economy, tourism, especially with better transport links like the RTS link coming online.
That connection to Singapore will be key.
And speaking of making things easier, Malaysia's streamlined the process for hiring expats.
Oh, the Expats Gateway platform. I heard about that.
Yeah, cutting approval times way down from potentially a year, they say, to just 20 days.
That's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Should really help businesses boost productivity. Part of that push to be a top 12 competitive economy globally, right?
Exactly. Making it easier to do business is crucial.
And quickly on the energy sector, Petronas Gas.
Good news there. They've fully restored gas supply in Selangor 3 months after that Putra Heights pipeline blast. They've added enhanced safety features, and they're designing a new permanent pipeline. Better valves, the works.
Good to hear. And Petronas itself, exploring internationally.
Yep. They've started drilling 3 exploration wells off the coast of Suriname, Block 52, looking for more oil reserves, part of their global push.
Okay, let's pivot to the international stage. Global trade and politics are getting tense again.
Definitely. U.S. President Trump threatening more tariffs, an extra 10% on countries aligning with what he called anti-American policies of the BRICS group.
And BRICS leaders meeting in Brazil weren't happy.
Understandably not. They voiced serious concerns about unilateral tariffs. It's creating a lot of uncertainty.
How does Malaysia fit into this? Mighty responded.
Yeah, the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry clarified Malaysia's position. Our involvement with BRICS is about trade and development, not political alignment. Malaysia maintains an independent foreign policy.
But we're still negotiating with the U.S. about those reciprocal tariffs.
Negotiations are ongoing, yes, trying to reduce that 24% Malaysian tariff. But all this uncertainty, it's hitting emerging Asian currencies and stocks.
Including the ringgit and Bursa Malaysia.
Absolutely. It shows how global politics directly impact your wallet, your investments.
Very true. What about China's economic moves? Those rare earth export restrictions are still causing problems.
They are, imposed back in April, and parts of the global auto supply chain have basically halted. It's even creating a crisis for Chinese magnet makers themselves, despite some recent deal with the U.S.
So no quick fix expected.
Probably not. Past experience with controls on critical minerals suggests delays and higher costs are likely to stick around for a while.
And China's also looking at its financial flows. The Bond Connect program.
Yeah, this is significant. They're considering doubling the southbound Bond Connect quota up to potentially 1 trillion renminbi.
What does that mean practically?
Basically, making it much easier for international investors to buy Chinese bonds via Hong Kong. It's a major step in loosening capital controls and could, boost the yuan's international appeal.
Okay, interesting move. Finally, the oil market. Prices seem steady even though OPEC plus increased output.
They kind of shrugged it off, yeah. OPEC plus hiked August output by about 548,000 barrels per day. But the market still feels tight.
Suggesting it can absorb the extra barrels.
Seems that way. The expectation is they'll continue unwinding those voluntary cuts, probably finish in September, but demand seems persistent for now.
So pulling all this together, what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
Well, it's clearly a very dynamic landscape, isn't it? Local developments here in Malaysia are just so closely tied to global shifts, trade tensions. Everything is interconnected.
Understanding those connections is key then.
Absolutely. It's crucial for navigating your financial future. Geopolitics in Washington or Beijing can directly influence prices you pay or the performance of your investments here.
So, a final thought, perhaps. In this world of increasing trade friction, how does Malaysia walk that tightrope, balancing deep economic ties with both the East and the West to protect its own growth? And maybe, what opportunities could that create for nimble investors?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Something definitely worth keeping an eye on.
Indeed. Remember to subscribe to the Malaysia Money Matters podcast to stay informed on these crucial developments that impact your finances. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. If you would like a deeper dive into all the investment opportunities from today's news, subscribe to my newsletter at moneymatters.substack.com. I will be sharing a deeper analysis of the key investment opportunities from today's news, including what makes these opportunities stand out and how they fit into the broader market trends. By subscribing to the Malaysia Money Matters newsletter, You will also get exclusive insights on my watch list and portfolio and fundamental reports on Malaysian listed companies.